My mother-in-law planned a cruise for blood family only, then called me crying from the ship when no one would help her. For 6 years, Beatrice had made it crystal clear I wasn't real family. At holidays, she'd seat me at the kids' table while my husband Devin sat with the adults. She'd post family photos on Facebook with me cropped out. When we announced I was pregnant, she asked if we were sure it was Devin's. The cruise was her 70th birthday gift to herself, a 2-week Mediterranean adventure for her 3 sons and their families. Except when the invitations went out, mine didn't arrive. Devin got his, our daughter Iris got hers. I got nothing. When Devin confronted her, Beatrice said blood means something. Devin refused to go without me. His brothers called him selfish for ruining their mother's birthday. I told him to go take Iris and have a wonderful time. They left on a Tuesday. By Thursday, my phone rang at 3 a.m. It was Beatrice, sobbing. She'd fallen in their cabin and couldn't get up. Something was wrong with her hip. She'd been calling for Devin for 20 minutes, but he wasn't answering. Neither were his brothers Garrett and Finn. The casino, she choked out. I told him to go have fun, but now I need help and no one's answering. I stayed on the phone while she called the ship's medical center. Then I called Devin 11 times. Straight to voicemail. Beatrice called me back an hour later from the medical bay. Fractured hip. She'd need surgery when they docked in Barcelona in 2 days. The doctor said someone needed to stay with her, but Devin was unreachable and his brothers claimed they'd already paid for excursions. Can you come? Beatrice whispered. Please. I know I haven't been kind, but I'm scared and they're all too busy. I hung up. I'd used my vacation days when Iris had pneumonia. I'd maxed out our credit card for Devin and Iris's tickets because Beatrice refused to cover me. Now she wanted me to fly to Spain, miss work I couldn't afford to miss, and take care of her because her blood family was too busy. I blocked her number and went back to sleep. Devin finally called the next morning. He was furious. How could I leave his mother suffering? I explained she had reached me and I'd chosen not to come, that for 6 years she'd made it clear I wasn't family. She's desperate, Devin said. This is different. You're right, I replied. It is different. She needs something now. His brothers called next. Finn accused me of being petty. Garrett said I was proving Beatrice right. I asked why they weren't helping their mother. They had excursions booked. The doctor said she'd be fine. I hung up. Beatrice called from her daughter-in-law Petra's phone, begging. She'd pay for my flight, anything. I asked if she'd ever apologized for cropping me out of photos or questioning my daughter's paternity. Silence. When they returned, Devin moved into his mother's house. He said I was cruel and vindictive. I filed for divorce 3 weeks later. His brothers called me every name imaginable. Beatrice posted on Facebook about people who only care about revenge. But I got full custody of Iris. The judge noted who'd been present in her life. Devin's been fighting it for 6 months. Last week, his lawyer called. Beatrice is in declining health. She needs someone to manage her medications and drive her to appointments. Devin works full-time and his brothers live out of state. They'll agree to my custody terms if I'll help care for Beatrice. I'm meeting them tomorrow to give my answer. The meeting was at Beatrice's house, the same Victorian monstrosity where I'd spent 6 Christmases being told to use the guest bathroom because the family bathroom was for family, where Beatrice had asked me to eat in the kitchen during Thanksgiving because there wasn't enough room at the table. There had been an empty chair. I arrived exactly on time. Devin's lawyer was already there, a man named Roger with silver hair and a suit that cost more than my car. Devin sat on the couch next to his mother. Garrett and Finn flanked them like bodyguards. Petra sat in the corner, avoiding eye contact. Beatrice looked terrible. The fractured hip had healed poorly. She'd lost at least 30 pounds. Her skin had that papery quality that happens when someone stops eating properly, but her eyes were the same, sharp and calculating. Thank you for coming, Roger said, gesturing to a chair they'd placed in the center of the room, like I was on trial. I sat down. As you know, Beatrice's health has deteriorated significantly since the cruise incident. Roger opened a folder. She requires daily assistance with medications, weekly doctor appointments, and someone to prepare meals that meet her dietary restrictions. I'm aware, I said. Devin has agreed to reduce his custody petition to every other weekend and Wednesday dinners if you'll provide care for Beatrice 3 days per week. You'd have full decision-making authority regarding Iris's education, medical care, and general welfare. Everything I'd been fighting for. For 6 months, Devin had been pushing for joint custody, claiming I'd poisoned Iris against him, that I was vindictive and cruel. Now he was offering me exactly what I wanted. What days? I asked. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, Devin said. I'll handle weekends. Garrett and Finn will cover Tuesdays and Thursdays remotely by paying for a nurse. Remotely? Garrett shifted. We're sending money for professional help on our assigned days. So you're not actually helping. We have jobs, Finn snapped. We can't just drop everything, right? I looked at Beatrice. But I can. She met my eyes. I'm asking you, please. The word tasted foreign in her mouth. Beatrice had never said please to me before. Not once in 6 years. Let me make sure I understand, I said slowly. For 6 years, I wasn't family. I wasn't good enough to sit at your table, to be in your photos. You questioned whether my daughter was your son's child. You excluded me from a family vacation and then called me when no one else would help you. When I refused, you called me vindictive. Now you want me to spend 3 days a week taking care of you. Yes, Roger said, in exchange for the custody arrangement you want. What happens if I say no? We continue the custody battle, Devin said. And you continue paying legal fees you can't afford. He wasn't wrong. I'd already spent $8,000 I didn't have. My credit cards were maxed. I'd taken a second job on weekends when Iris was with my mother. What happens when Beatrice dies? I asked. The room went silent. Excuse me? Roger said. She's 70 years old with declining health. When she dies, does this custody arrangement stand? Yes, Roger said carefully. It would be a legally binding agreement. And if I agree to this, I want it in writing that I'm not responsible for any medical decisions beyond scheduling appointments and administering prescribed medications. If she needs to go to the hospital, that's on Devin. If she needs surgery, that's on Devin. I'm transportation and pill management. Nothing more. Roger made notes. That's reasonable. I also want it in writing that my presence in this house doesn't constitute me agreeing to attend family events. If Garrett gets married, I'm not expected to come. If there's another cruise, I'm not invited, and that's fine. This is a business arrangement. Devin's jaw tightened. Fine. And I want a written apology from Beatrice, acknowledging what she did. Specifically, every incident I can document. And I want it posted on Facebook just like she posted about me being vindictive. Absolutely not, Beatrice said. That's humiliating. So was eating in the kitchen during Thanksgiving. That's not the same. It's exactly the same. You humiliated me publicly for 6 years. Now you're asking me to help you privately. I want one public acknowledgement of what you did. Beatrice looked at her sons. Garrett stared at his shoes. Finn examined his watch. Devin said nothing. I'll draft something, Roger finally said. We can negotiate the language. No, I said. I write it. You can review it for legal issues, but the content is mine. Every word. This is outrageous, Beatrice said. I'm your elder. I'm sick, and you're trying to humiliate me. I'm trying to get the same thing you wanted, I said. Acknowledgement that blood means something. That family should be there for each other. That people who aren't kind don't get kindness in return. I stood up. Email me the agreement, I told Roger. I'll send you my terms. If Beatrice agrees, I'll sign. If not, I'll see you in court. I walked out. Devin followed me to my car. You can't do this to her. I'm not doing anything to her. I'm offering exactly what she asked for. Care in exchange for custody. The Facebook post is cruel. So was cropping me out of photos. She's dying. I stopped with my hand on the car door. Then her blood family should take care of her. You, Garrett, and Finn. The people who matter. The people who share her DNA. We can't. You can't or you won't. I looked at him. Because when your mother fell on that ship, you couldn't hear your phone over the slot machines. When she needed surgery, you couldn't skip your excursion. When she called me in the middle of the night, terrified and alone, you were too busy to answer. But I'm the cruel one for remembering that. Devin had no response. I got in my car and drove home. The agreement arrived by email 3 days later. Roger had added my terms. There was a separate document from Beatrice, a handwritten letter on her monogrammed stationery. Dear my name, I acknowledge that during your marriage to my son, I treated you as less than family. I seated you at the children's table during holidays when there was room at the adult table. I deliberately excluded you from family photographs. I questioned your daughter's paternity despite having no reason to doubt it. I did not invite you on our family cruise while inviting your husband and daughter. When I fell and needed help, I called you only after my sons were unavailable. These actions were wrong. I apologize. I hope we can move forward. Beatrice. It wasn't the public acknowledgement I'd asked for. It was private, careful, legally worded. I called Roger. This isn't what I asked for. Mrs. Whitmore felt a private apology was more appropriate. Of course she did. Tell her I want the Facebook post or no deal. She's concerned about how it will look to her friends. She should have thought about that before calling me vindictive on Facebook. There was a long pause. Let me speak with her. 2 days later, a new post appeared on Beatrice's Facebook. I want to address something publicly because I was publicly wrong. During my son Devin's marriage, I treated his wife poorly. I excluded her from family events, questioned her character, and made her feel unwelcome in our family. When I needed help, I expected her to drop everything for me after years of treating her as unimportant. She had every right to refuse. I blamed her for setting boundaries when I should have apologized for crossing them. I'm sorry for my behavior and grateful she's willing to help me now despite how I treated her. It had 47 comments within an hour. Most were confused. A few were supportive. Several people asked if her account had been hacked. Devin's cousin Wendy commented, "Wait, you cropped her out of photos? Beatrice, that's awful." His Aunt Patricia wrote, "I always wondered why she never came to events. I thought she was unfriendly. This explains a lot." Petra, Garrett's wife, liked the post. She didn't comment, but the like said enough. I signed the custody agreement that afternoon. The next Monday, I showed up at Beatrice's house at 9 a.m. She had a list of medications organized by time of day, a binder with doctor contact information, and a meal plan her nutritionist had created. "The purple pills are for blood pressure," she said, walking me through the medication schedule. "Blue is for cholesterol. The big white ones are calcium supplements. I can read labels. I'm just trying to make this easier. For both of us." We settled into an uncomfortable routine. Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, I'd arrive at 9. I'd sort her medications into daily dispensers. I'd prepare meals according to her dietary restrictions. Low sodium, high protein, no sugar. I'd drive her to appointments and wait in sterile rooms while doctors discussed blood pressure and bone density. We didn't talk much those first few weeks. She'd try to make conversation, and I'd respond with 1 or 2 words. She'd ask about Iris, and I'd say she was fine. She'd mention something about the weather, and I'd nod. On my 4th Monday, Beatrice said, "You really hate me." I was measuring out her blood pressure medication. "I don't think about you enough to hate you. That's worse somehow." "Is it?" I looked at her. "Because for 6 years you made it clear you didn't think about me at all, except when you needed to decide where to seat me or who to exclude from photos. So now I'm returning the favor. I'm here because we have an agreement, not because I care." Her hands trembled slightly as she reached for her water glass. "I deserve that. You do. I was trying to protect my son. From what? A woman who loved him, who took care of his daughter, who showed up to every family event even though you made me miserable? From making a mistake," she said quietly. "Devin's father left when the boys were young. I raised them alone. I worked 2 jobs. I sacrificed everything, and I wanted them to marry women who understood family, who valued blood. I valued family," I said. "I just wasn't yours." She didn't respond. The routine continued. I'd show up, do my job, leave. Iris would ask why I was going to Grandma's house, and I'd explain that Grandma needed help, that sometimes adults have to do things they don't want to do. "Do you like Grandma now?" Iris asked one night. "No," I said honestly. "But I made a deal to take care of her so you and I can stay together." "That's a weird deal." "It is. Grandma was mean to you." "She was. But you're helping her anyway?" Yes. Iris thought about this. Because you love me more than you don't like her? Exactly. She hugged me. That's a lot of love. It was. By the 8th week, Beatrice started trying harder. She'd have coffee ready when I arrived. She'd ask about my work and actually listen to my answers. She'd mention articles she'd read or shows she'd watched, clearly trying to find common ground. I remained professional, polite, distant. One Wednesday, I arrived to find her crying in the kitchen. Not dramatic sobbing, just quiet tears running down her face as she stared at a photo album. "What's wrong?" I asked, more out of obligation than concern. She gestured to the album. Photos of Devin, Garrett, and Finn as children. Birthday parties, school plays, Little League games. "I did this alone," she said. "Their father left, and I did this alone. And I was so afraid of them choosing wrong. Of them bringing home women who'd leave them like he left me. So I tested you. I made everything difficult to see if you'd stay." "That's not testing," I said. "That's cruelty. I know that now. Now that you need me." She looked up at me. "Now that I've lost everything, my son moved out. My friends saw that Facebook post. My daughters-in-law barely speak to me. I'm sitting in this house alone except for the 3 days a week when you show up and can barely stand to look at me. You're not alone. You have your sons." "Do I?" She laughed bitterly. "Garrett called last week for 5 minutes. Finn sent a check with a note telling me to hire better help. And Devin comes by on Sundays out of obligation. He sits in that chair, asks how I'm feeling, and leaves as soon as he can. That must be difficult. You don't care." "No," I agreed. "I don't." But something shifted in me that day. Not forgiveness, not sympathy exactly. Just recognition that she was reaping what she'd sown, that the isolation she'd created for me, she'd also created for herself. The next Friday, I brought a deck of cards. "Do you play rummy?" She looked startled. "Yes." "Good. Your medications don't need sorting until 3. We might as well do something besides sit in silence." We played rummy. She won twice. I won once. We didn't talk much, but the silence felt less hostile. This became our routine. I'd arrive, handle medications, prepare meals, and then we'd play cards or watch game shows or work on a puzzle she'd bought. It wasn't friendship. It was coexistence. A ceasefire in a war neither of us had won. 3 months into the arrangement, Beatrice had a doctor's appointment that ran long. Her cardiologist wanted additional tests. I sat in the waiting room for 4 hours, reading magazines I'd already read, drinking terrible coffee from a machine that should have been replaced in 1987. When she finally emerged, she looked exhausted. "They want me to come back next week for a stress test. I'll add it to the calendar. You don't have to stay for these appointments. You can just drop me off. The agreement says I drive you to appointments. It doesn't say I can leave you here." She studied my face. "You're very literal about that contract. It's the only thing protecting both of us." We drove home in silence. When we arrived, she said, "Thank you for staying, even though you didn't have to. The contract says—" "I know what the contract says. But you could have argued that driving me meant dropping me off. You didn't, so thank you." I didn't respond, but something in my chest loosened slightly. That night, Devin called. "Mom told me about the doctor's appointment. It went fine. She needs a follow-up. She said you waited the whole time. The agreement says I drive her to appointments. She also said you brought her a sandwich when you realized it was taking forever, and that you let her lean on you when she got dizzy in the parking lot. She was dizzy. I wasn't going to let her fall." Devin was quiet for a moment. "You're a good person. I'm a person honoring a contract. You're more than that." "Don't," I said. "Don't try to make this into something it's not. I'm taking care of your mother because you couldn't. Because your brothers wouldn't. Because you gave me full custody of my daughter in exchange. This isn't kindness, Devin. It's a business transaction. It stopped being just business when you brought her a sandwich." I hung up. But he wasn't entirely wrong. Something had shifted. I still didn't forgive Beatrice. I still remembered every slight, every exclusion, every moment of cruelty. But I was starting to see her as human, flawed and scared and alone, which somehow made it worse because I couldn't maintain my anger as easily. 4 months in, Beatrice asked about Iris. Not the usual polite "how is she" question. A real question. "Does she ask about me?" I was organizing her evening medications. "Sometimes." "What does she say?" "That you were mean to her mom." Beatrice flinched. "She's right." "I know. Does she hate me?" I considered lying. It would have been easier. But Iris deserved better than me using her as a weapon. "She doesn't hate you. She doesn't really understand what happened. She knows we got divorced and you got sick and now I take care of you. She doesn't know about the cruise or the photos or any of it." "Why didn't you tell her?" "Because she's 6. She doesn't need to know her grandmother is capable of cruelty. She'll figure that out on her own someday if you decide to be cruel again. But I'm not going to poison her against you just because you tried to poison Devin against me." Beatrice's eyes filled with tears. "I don't deserve that." "No," I agreed. "You don't." "Could I?" She hesitated. "Could I see her sometime? Not at my house? I know that's too much, but maybe at a park? With you there?" Everything in me screamed no. Iris was mine. I'd fought for her. I'd won her. I didn't have to share her with the woman who'd made my life miserable. But Iris deserved to know her grandmother, even if that grandmother was difficult, even if she'd been terrible to me. That wasn't Iris's burden to carry. "I'll think about it," I said. A week later, I brought Iris to the park where Beatrice was waiting on a bench. She'd dressed carefully, done her hair. She looked nervous. Iris ran ahead to the swings and I sat next to Beatrice. "Thank you," she whispered. "This is for Iris, not you." "I know." We watched Iris swing higher and higher, her hair flying behind her. She jumped off at the peak and landed hard in the sand, laughing. "She's beautiful," Beatrice said. "She is. She looks like Devin. She has his eyes. And your stubbornness." I almost smiled. "Definitely." Iris ran over. "Grandma, watch me go down the slide backwards." She was off before Beatrice could respond. We watched her climb the ladder and carefully position herself backwards at the top. "She calls me Grandma," Beatrice said softly. "She's 6. She doesn't remember that you weren't interested in being one before. But you do. Every single day." Iris slid down backwards, triumphant. She ran to us. Did you see? Very impressive, Beatrice said. Mom says you're sick. I am. Like when I had pneumonia? Something like that. Mom took care of me when I had pneumonia. She stayed home from work and made me soup and read me stories. She's good at taking care of people. Beatrice looked at me. She really is. We stayed for an hour. Iris showed off her playground skills while Beatrice and I watched in careful silence. When it was time to go, Iris hugged her grandmother. Quick and casual, the way children hug without overthinking it. Can we come back next week? Iris asked. If your mom says yes. Iris looked at me with those devastating eyes. Can we? We'll see. But we went back the next week, and the week after. It became part of our routine. Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at Beatrice's house. Saturday mornings at the park. Always supervised. Always with me there as a buffer. But slowly, carefully, a relationship started to form between Iris and her grandmother. One Saturday, Beatrice brought a photo album. Pictures of Devin as a child. That's Daddy? Iris asked, pointing to a photo of Devin at her age. That's your daddy. He was little like me. He was. Iris studied every photo. Who's that? That's your Uncle Garrett. And that's Uncle Finn? Yes. Where's my mom? Beatrice's hand hesitated on the page. Your mom wasn't in our family yet. Oh. Iris looked at me. When did you join the family? When I married Daddy. And then I was born and I joined too? Exactly. And Grandma was already in the family because she's Daddy's mom? That's right, Beatrice said softly. So we're all family. Iris said it like a simple fact, which to her it was. Beatrice's eyes met mine over Iris's head. She didn't say anything. She didn't need to. 6 months into our arrangement, Beatrice's health declined sharply. Her cardiologist scheduled the surgery we'd all been dreading. Open heart. High risk. She'd need 6 weeks of recovery with round-the-clock care for at least the first 2 weeks. Devin called a family meeting. Garrett and Finn both flew in. We sat in Beatrice's living room again, but this time the dynamic was different. I wasn't in the center chair being interrogated. I was on the couch, next to Petra. We need a plan, Devin said. Mom needs 24/7 care for 2 weeks post-surgery. I can take time off work, but not that much. Garrett and Finn, you're both willing to come for a few days each? They nodded. What about a nursing service? Finn suggested. We can afford it. Mom doesn't want strangers in her house, Devin said. Then what do you suggest? Everyone looked at me. No, I said immediately. The agreement is 3 days a week. This is way beyond that. We'd pay you, Garrett said. Whatever you need. This isn't about money. Then what is it about? Finn demanded. It's about the fact that 6 months ago, you all tried to force me to care for your mother by holding my custody of Iris hostage. Now you want me to do even more. Where does it end? Petra spoke up quietly. She's right. Everyone turned to her. She's right, Petra repeated. We all expected her to drop everything and fix this because we couldn't be bothered. I'm guilty of it too. I let Garrett send checks instead of actually helping. We've all treated her like hired help instead of family. She's not family anymore, Finn said. She and Devin are divorced. But Iris is family, Petra said. And she's been more present for Beatrice than any of us. How many times have you visited your mother in the last 6 months, Finn? He shifted uncomfortably. I've been busy. So have I. So has Garrett. But she still shows up 3 times a week. She takes your mother to appointments. She plays cards with her. She brings her granddaughter to visit. While we send money and make excuses. The room went silent. I'll help, I said finally. But I have conditions. Of course you do, Finn muttered. I'll do morning shifts. 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. every day for 2 weeks. Someone else covers 1 p.m. to 7 p.m. Someone else covers nights. I will not do 24/7 care. I have a daughter and a job and a life. That's reasonable, Devin said. I also want it in writing that this is a one-time arrangement, that after this recovery period we return to our regular schedule. No more expansions, no more additions. Roger pulled out his notepad. And I want each of you to commit to 1 day a week of visits after she recovers. Not money, not phone calls, actual visits. That's not, Finn started. That's the deal, I interrupted. Or hire nursing care and stop expecting me to fix your family dysfunction. They agreed. The surgery was scheduled for a Tuesday. I sat in the waiting room with Devin, Garrett, Finn, and Petra. We drank bad coffee and pretended to read magazines. Every time a doctor walked by, we all looked up hopefully. 7 hours later, the surgeon emerged. The surgery went well. She's in recovery. You can see her in about an hour. We all exhaled. When they finally let us back, Beatrice looked small and fragile in the hospital bed. Tubes everywhere. Monitors beeping. Her eyes were closed. Devin held her hand. Hey, Mom. You made it. Her eyes fluttered open. She looked around the room, seeing all of us. Her gaze landed on me last. You came, she whispered. I said I would. Thank you. I nodded. The first 2 weeks were brutal. I'd arrive at 7 a.m. to find Beatrice already awake, uncomfortable, trying to be brave. I'd help her to the bathroom, which was humiliating for both of us. I'd manage her medications, which had tripled. I'd help her do the breathing exercises the hospital had prescribed. I'd make bland meals she could barely eat. Devin would arrive at 1 p.m. to take over. Sometimes he'd be late. Sometimes he'd ask if I could stay just an hour longer. I always said no. Garrett managed 3 days before claiming work needed him. Finn lasted 2. By the second week, it was mostly me and Devin with Petra filling in when she could. One morning, while helping Beatrice back to bed after a painful trip to the bathroom, she grabbed my hand. I know you hate this. I don't hate it. I just didn't sign up for it. That's fair. She settled back against the pillows, wincing. Can I tell you something? Do I have a choice? She almost smiled. When Devin brought you home that first time, I liked you. I thought you were smart and funny. I told him you were a keeper. I didn't respond. Then he told me he loved you and wanted to marry you, and I panicked. Because if he loved you that much, you had power to hurt him, the way his father hurt me. So I started testing you, making things difficult, trying to prove you'd leave. That's a terrible way to protect someone. It is. But I didn't know that then. I just knew that love makes people vulnerable, and I didn't want my son to be vulnerable. So you made me the enemy. Yes. And now? She looked at me with tired eyes. Now I realize I created the exact situation I feared. I pushed you away. My son chose you. And when our marriage fell apart, it was because of me. I did to you what his father did to me. I made someone feel unwanted in their own family. I sat down in the chair beside her bed. Why are you telling me this? Because you deserve to know it wasn't about you. You were everything a mother should want for her son. Loving, loyal, present. I was just too scared to see it. That doesn't fix anything. I know. And it doesn't change what you did. I know that too. She closed her eyes. But I wanted to say it anyway, while I still can. The 2 weeks ended. Beatrice's recovery progressed slowly but steadily. We returned to our regular schedule, 3 days a week. But something had changed. Not forgiveness, not exactly friendship, but a mutual understanding that we were stuck with each other and might as well make the best of it. Iris continued her Saturday visits. Beatrice started teaching her to bake. They'd make cookies together while I sat at the kitchen table pretending to read. Really, I was watching, making sure, always watching. One Saturday, while Iris was measuring flour, Beatrice said, "I'm updating my will." I looked up. "Okay, I'm leaving the house to Iris. You should leave it to Devin. He doesn't need it. He has his own place. But Iris will need something someday. A head start." And she hesitated. "I want her to have something from me that's not complicated, not tied up in hurt feelings and old grudges, just a house that's hers." Iris was oblivious, focused on her measuring cup. "What about Garrett and Finn?" I asked. "They're getting the investment accounts, but the house goes to Iris. If that's okay with you, it's your house. But she's your daughter. I won't do this if you don't want me to." I thought about it. A house meant security. It meant Iris would always have a place, but it also meant she'd be tied to this family, to this woman who'd caused so much pain. "Iris," I said, "come here for a second." She walked over, flour on her nose. "Grandma wants to leave you this house someday. When she dies. That means it would belong to you." Iris looked around the kitchen. "This house?" "Yes, but where would Grandma live? She wouldn't need it anymore, sweetie." Iris processed this. "Can Mom live here too?" "If you wanted," Beatrice said quietly. "When you're older, it would be yours to do what you want with." "Okay." Iris shrugged and went back to her flour. "There's your answer," I said. Beatrice wiped her eyes. She didn't even hesitate. "She's 6. She doesn't understand what you're really asking." "What am I really asking?" "For forgiveness disguised as inheritance." Beatrice absorbed that. "Am I forgiven?" "No." "Will I ever be?" I watched Iris carefully add flour to the bowl, her tongue sticking out in concentration. "I don't know. Ask me when she's old enough to decide if she wants a relationship with you, when she knows what you did and chooses for herself. If she forgives you, I might consider it." That's fair. It was. 8 months into our arrangement, Devin started dating someone, a woman named Lydia who worked at his office. He brought her to one of Beatrice's doctor appointments and I met them in the parking lot. "This is Lydia," Devin said nervously. "Hi." I shook her hand. "Devin's told me so much about you," Lydia said. She had kind eyes. I hated that I noticed. "All terrible things, I'm sure." "Actually, no. He said you're helping take care of his mother even though you don't have to. We have a legal agreement." "Still," she smiled. "That's kind." I didn't know what to say to that. Inside, Beatrice was delighted to meet Lydia. She asked questions, showed interest, and didn't make a single cutting remark. When they left, I said, "You like her?" "I do. You didn't like me." "I was scared of you." "I'm not scared of her." "Why not?" Beatrice thought about it. "Because Devin loves her, but he's not vulnerable to her. Not the way he was with you. She's nice, appropriate, but she's not his whole world. You were his whole world and I couldn't control that. That's incredibly messed up." "It is. You know that now?" "I'm starting to." Lydia started coming to the park on Saturdays. She'd play with Iris while Beatrice and I sat on the bench. Eventually, she'd sit with us, make small talk, ask about my work, and actually listen. "She's good for him," Beatrice said one Saturday while Lydia was pushing Iris on the swings. "She is." "Are you okay with it?" I looked at her. "Why would I not be okay with it?" "We're divorced. Because you loved him once?" "I did. But love doesn't survive being asked to choose between your partner and your self-respect. Devin asked me to ignore what you did, to prioritize your feelings over mine, to keep peace instead of standing up for myself. I can't love someone who asked me to be smaller. He was trying to protect me. I know, but he should have protected me too. From you. He didn't. So it ended. Do you regret marrying him?" "No. I got Iris." "Just Iris?" "She's enough." Beatrice nodded. "She is." Devin and Lydia got engaged 6 months later. Beatrice was thrilled. She planned an engagement party and invited me. "Why?" I asked when she called. "Because you're part of this family whether you want to be or not. You take care of me 3 days a week. You bring Iris to visit. You sat with me during surgery. You've earned an invitation. I don't want to go." "I know, but Iris is a flower girl, and I think you should be there for her." She was right. The party was at Beatrice's house, the same house where I'd eaten in the kitchen and been excluded from photos. Now I was a guest. People I didn't know introduced themselves. Lydia's family was friendly. Garrett and Finn were awkward but civil. Petra found me on the patio. Weird, right? Very. Garrett told me about everything that happened, with the cruise and the Facebook posts and all of it. "I'm sorry I didn't stand up for you then. You didn't know me. I knew it was wrong. I should have said something." I shrugged. "It's in the past." "Is it though?" She looked at me. "Because you're still here, still taking care of her, still letting her see Iris. That takes incredible strength, or incredible stupidity. Maybe both." We laughed. It felt good. Inside, Beatrice was showing off her engagement ring that Lydia's mother had admired. She looked happier than I'd ever seen her. Not because Devin was engaged, but because she was surrounded by people. Connected. Needed. I thought about the woman who'd called me from the cruise ship, desperate and alone. She'd created that loneliness, carefully built it with every cruel remark and deliberate exclusion. And now she was trying to dismantle it, piece by piece. relationship by relationship. It was working. Near the end of the party, Beatrice found me. Thank you for coming. Iris wanted to be here. I know that's why you came, but thank you anyway. You're welcome. She hesitated. Can I ask you something? Sure. If you could go back to that night on the cruise when I called you, would you still hang up? I thought about it. Yes. She nodded. Good. Good? Because you were right to. I deserved it. I needed someone to say no, to show me there were consequences. If you'd come running, I never would have changed. You've changed? I'm trying to. She looked around at the party. This is better. Lydia is kind to me. Iris visits. You tolerate me. Devin speaks to me again. I have actual relationships instead of people who are obligated to pretend. People are still obligated. The legal agreement. You know what I mean. She touched my arm lightly. You were never just obligated. You brought sandwiches. You stayed at appointments. You taught Iris to give me a chance even though I never gave you one. That's not obligation. Then what is it? I don't know, but it's better than I deserve. The party wound down. Iris fell asleep in my arms, exhausted from flower girl excitement. I carried her to the car while Beatrice walked beside me. Drive safe, she said. Always do. I'll see you Monday? That's the schedule. She nodded and went back inside. A year into our arrangement, Beatrice had another health scare. Her heart again. The surgeon said another operation was too risky. They'd manage it with medication and lifestyle changes. She might have a year, maybe 5. No one could say. Devin called me immediately. Mom wants to talk to you. About what? Just come over, please. I went that evening. Beatrice was sitting in her favorite chair, looking fragile but determined. I'm updating my will again, she said without preamble. Okay, the house still goes to Iris, but I want to set up a trust fund for her education, and I want you to be the trustee. Why me? Because you'll make good decisions for her. Devin would do what I wanted. You'll do what she needs. There's a difference. What about Garrett and Finn? They're getting their share, but Iris's money stays separate, protected. I'm putting $500,000 in the trust. It's for college, graduate school, or a first house. Whatever will help her most. I sat down. $500,000? It's money I would have left to Devin, but he doesn't need it. And you do. Or at least Iris does. I can't accept this. It's not for you. It's for her. It feels like you're trying to buy forgiveness. I'm not. Beatrice leaned forward. I'm trying to give my granddaughter a head start in life, the way I should have helped you when you married Devin. I could have paid for Iris's birth. I could have helped with childcare. I could have been useful instead of cruel. This doesn't fix that, but it helps. Beatrice, I'm dying. She said it matter-of-factly. Maybe not tomorrow. Maybe not even this year, but sooner than later. And I want to know I did one thing right. That I helped one person I should have been helping all along. Please let me do this. I looked at her, really looked at her. The woman who'd made my life miserable, who'd questioned my daughter's paternity and cropped me out of photos, who'd called me vindictive and cruel. She looked tired and scared and desperately hopeful. Okay, I said. Okay, I'll be the trustee, but I want it in writing that this doesn't change our agreement. 3 days a week, nothing more unless I choose to do more. Of course. And if you pull any manipulation, any attempts to use this money to control Iris or me, the trust goes to an independent trustee. Roger will write that in. Good. She exhaled slowly. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. I'm a very strict trustee. She almost smiled. I'd expect nothing less. The trust was established. The will was updated. Life continued in our strange rhythm. 3 days a week, I showed up. We'd gotten comfortable with each other in a way I never expected. We still played cards, still watched game shows, still worked on puzzles, but now we talked about real things. She told me about Devin's father, how he'd left without warning when the boys were little, how she'd worked multiple jobs to keep the house, how she'd vowed never to let anyone hurt her sons the way she'd been hurt. So you hurt their wives instead, I said. Yes, that's not better. I know. I told her about my childhood, growing up with parents who loved conditionally, who valued achievement over connection, who taught me that love had to be earned through perfection. Is that why you stayed with Devin so long? She asked. Even when I was terrible? Partly. I thought if I was good enough, you'd accept me. I'm sorry you thought that. I'm sorry you made me think that. She nodded. We both came from broken places. We did, but I chose not to break other people. You're stronger than me. I'm just less scared. Iris turned 7. Beatrice threw her a birthday party at her house. She invited Iris's friends from school, hired a face painter, and bought too much cake. It was lovely and overwhelming and completely unnecessary. Why did you do all this? I asked while watching kids run through the backyard. Because I missed 6 birthdays. This doesn't make up for that, but it's something. Iris was delighted. She showed everyone her grandmother's house, pointed out the cookies they'd baked together, introduced Beatrice to her friends like she was someone important. At the end of the party, while cleaning up streamers, Iris hugged Beatrice. This was the best birthday ever. Beatrice's eyes filled with tears. I'm glad, sweetheart. Are you crying? Happy tears. Those are good tears. The best kind. I watched them and felt something shift in my chest. Not forgiveness still, but something softer. Recognition, maybe, that Beatrice was trying. Actually trying. Not performatively, not for show, but in small, consistent ways that mattered to a 7-year-old. That night, after Iris was asleep, I called Devin. Your mother threw Iris a good party. I know. She told me about it. He paused. Are you okay? I think so. That doesn't sound certain. I'm watching your mother be the grandmother I needed her to be 6 years ago. It's complicated. Do you want me to talk to her? No. She's doing well. That's not the problem. Then what is? I'm realizing that people can change, that the woman who was cruel to me is capable of being kind to my daughter, and I don't know what to do with that. Devin was quiet for a long moment. You know what's interesting? Mom talks about you all the time. To Lydia, to me, to anyone who'll listen. She says you're the strongest person she knows. She said that? She did. She said you had every right to be cruel to her, And you chose humanity instead. That you showed up when no one expected you to. That you gave Iris a chance to know her grandmother even though it meant being around someone who hurt you. I'm not a saint, Devin. I know, but you're good. In a way I didn't appreciate when we were married. Is this going somewhere? I'm apologizing for not standing up for you when Mom was cruel. For choosing peace over protecting you. For making you feel like you had to accept less to be part of my family. I didn't respond. I should have been better, he continued. You deserved better. Iris deserved better. And I'm sorry it took losing you to see that. Okay. That's it? Okay? What do you want me to say? That I forgive you? That we can go back? No. I just want you to know I see it now. What I did wrong. What Mom did wrong. And I'm grateful you're giving Iris what we couldn't give you. A family that shows up. She's my daughter. I'd do anything for her. I know. That's why you're still there 3 days a week, even though you hate it. I don't hate it anymore. The words surprised me as much as they surprised him. You don't? It's gotten easier. Your mother is trying. I can see that now. I still remember what she did. I'm still hurt by it. But I can acknowledge she's trying to be different. That's more than she deserves. Probably. But it's what Iris deserves. We hung up. But his words stayed with me. About people changing. About choosing humanity over cruelty. About showing up when no one expects you to. 18 months into our arrangement, Beatrice had another episode. I found her collapsed in the bathroom when I arrived for my Wednesday shift. I called 911 and rode in the ambulance while they worked on her. At the hospital, the doctor said her heart was failing. They could try another surgery, but the odds weren't good. Or they could manage her with medication and make her comfortable. When Beatrice woke up, she chose comfort. I'm 72, she said. I've had a good life. I'm not dying on an operating table, so I can maybe live another year in pain. Devin was devastated. Garrett and Finn flew in immediately. They all tried to change her mind. She refused. Mom, you have to try, Devin said. I don't have to do anything, but we need you. You're grown men. You'll be fine. Iris needs you, Finn tried. Beatrice looked at me. Does she? Everyone turned to me. Don't put that on me, I said. This is your decision, but she's your daughter. If you tell me she needs her grandmother, I'll do the surgery. I thought about Iris, about how much she'd come to love these Saturday mornings, about the cookies and the stories and the photo albums. She needs you, I said quietly, but not if it means watching you suffer. She needs you healthy enough to be present. If you're not healthy enough, if you're in pain, that's not better. So what should I do? Whatever makes you happy. You've spent enough of your life doing what everyone else needs. Beatrice smiled. When did you get so wise? Around the time I stopped caring what you thought of me. She laughed. Actually laughed. Fair enough. She chose medication and hospice care. The doctor said she had anywhere from 6 months to 2 years. She moved into a specialized facility with round-the-clock care. Our agreement ended. Technically, I was no longer obligated to do anything. Iris had full custody. The legal requirements were met. But I showed up anyway, 3 times a week, just like before. I'd bring Iris on Saturdays. We'd sit with Beatrice in her hospice room and play cards or watch movies or just talk. Sometimes she'd be lucid and sharp. Sometimes she'd be foggy from pain medication. We never knew what we'd get. One Saturday, while Iris was coloring at the small table, Beatrice said, "You don't have to keep coming. I know. The agreement is over. I know that too." Then why? I thought about it. Because Iris loves you. Because you've earned these visits. And because I don't want her to remember her grandmother as someone who was only there when legally obligated. But that's what you were to me, legally obligated. At first, yes, but somewhere along the way, it stopped being just obligation. I don't know when exactly. Maybe when you taught Iris to bake. Maybe when you apologized on Facebook. Maybe when you set up her trust fund. But it changed. What is it now? I don't know. Not quite family. Not quite friendship, something in between. And she reached for my hand. Her grip was weak. I wish I'd known you were this person 6 years ago. I'm the same person I always was. I know, that's what I mean. I wish I'd seen it. Iris finished her coloring and brought it over. A picture of the 3 of us at the park. That's beautiful, sweetheart, Beatrice said. It's us when you weren't sick yet. When we had picnics. We should have more picnics. We can't, Iris said matter-of-factly. You're too sick now. But we can remember the ones we had. Children have a way of stating truth that adults can't manage. Beatrice's eyes filled with tears. Yes, she whispered. We can remember. 6 months in, Beatrice started declining rapidly. The doctor said it would be weeks, not months. Devin, Garrett, and Finn took turns staying with her. Lydia came daily. Petra visited when she could. I came every day, sometimes with Iris, sometimes alone. I'd sit beside her bed and read to her when she was too weak to talk. I'd adjust her pillows when she was uncomfortable. I'd call the nurses when she needed something. You didn't have to become a nurse, she said one afternoon. I'm not a nurse. I'm just here. Why? Because no one should die alone. I'm not alone. Devin is here all the time. Devin is handling this by being busy, making arrangements, talking to doctors. He's here, but he's not present. Not really. She absorbed this. And you are? I am. Why? Because someone was present for me when I needed it. And because you've been present for Iris. And because holding grudges is exhausting and I'm tired. Does this mean you forgive me? I considered lying. It would have been kinder. But we were past kindness now. We were at truth. I'm working on it. That's fair. 3 weeks later, Beatrice slipped into unconsciousness. The doctor said it could be hours or days. We all gathered. Devin and his brothers. Lydia and Petra. Iris, who I'd brought after much deliberation. Should she see this? Devin asked quietly. She should say goodbye. She'll regret it if she doesn't. Iris climbed onto the bed carefully. She held Beatrice's hand. Grandma? She whispered. It's me. Iris. No response. I brought you a picture. Of us at the park. You can take it with you. She tucked the drawing under Beatrice's hand. Mom says you're going somewhere else soon. That you won't hurt anymore. That's good because hurting is bad. She paused. I'll miss you though. I'll miss making cookies and hearing stories about Daddy when he was little. But Mom says I can remember all of it and that will help. She kissed Beatrice's forehead. Bye, Grandma. Thank you for being nice to me. I lifted her down and Petra took her to the hallway. We sat in silence. Devin on one side of the bed, me on the other, his brothers at the foot, waiting. As the sun set, Beatrice's breathing changed, slowed. Devin grabbed her hand. It's okay, Mom. You can go. I found myself reaching for her other hand, the hand of the woman who'd made my life miserable, who'd questioned my worth and my daughter's paternity, who'd excluded me and humiliated me and called me vindictive, but also the woman who'd apologized, who'd tried to change, who'd loved my daughter and left her a house and set up a trust fund, who'd thrown birthday parties and taught baking and told stories. She was both, all of it. The cruelty and the kindness, the fear and the love. It's okay, I heard myself say. You did well. Iris will remember you. I'll make sure she remembers the good parts. Beatrice's eyes opened briefly. She looked at me, really looked at me, and for just a moment, I saw something that might have been peace. Then she closed her eyes and took her last breath. The funeral was 3 days later. I sat in the back with Iris on my lap. I listened to Devin eulogize his mother, to Garrett and Finn share memories, to various friends and relatives talk about what a strong woman she'd been, a devoted mother, a pillar of the community. No one mentioned the cruelty, the exclusion, the way she'd treated her daughters-in-law or controlled her sons. They remembered only the good parts, which, I supposed, was how memory worked. At the reception, people kept thanking me for being there, for taking care of her, for giving her a relationship with Iris. You're very gracious, one woman said. After everything, Beatrice told me what she did to you, how terrible she was. She said you had every right to hate her, but you chose kindness instead. I'm not that noble. Maybe not, but you're here. That counts for something. Devin found me before we left. Thank you for coming. Of course. And thank you for everything else. The last 18 months. I know it wasn't easy. It wasn't. But it mattered to Iris. That's what counts. It mattered to Mom, too. I know. He pulled an envelope from his pocket. She wanted you to have this. She wrote it last week, before she got too sick. I took the envelope but didn't open it. What is it? I don't know. She just said to give it to you after. At home, after putting Iris to bed, I opened the envelope. Inside was a letter in Beatrice's shaky handwriting. My dear girl, by the time you read this, I'll be gone. I hope my passing was peaceful. I hope Iris wasn't too sad. I hope you're doing okay. I'm writing this because there are things I needed to say that I never quite managed while I was alive. Things that felt too big for conversation. You asked me once if I forgave. I understood then that you were really asking if I deserved forgiveness. I don't know if I do. I was cruel to you in ways I can never take back. I treated you as less than human because I was scared of how much my son loved you. I created pain where there should have been joy. But you gave me something anyway. You gave me the chance to know my granddaughter. You showed up 3 days a week even though you didn't have to. You stayed during my surgery and held my hand when I was dying. You chose humanity when you could have chosen revenge. That's what I want you to know. That your kindness mattered. That it changed me. That it taught me what family actually means. Not blood, not obligation, but showing up when it's hard. Being present when it would be easier to leave. You were more family to me in 18 months than I was to you in 6 years. I'm sorry it took me so long to see that. The house is Iris's as we discussed, but I've left you something too. In the desk in my study, there's a box. Inside are all the photos I cropped you out of, the original prints. I kept them all. I don't know why. Maybe because some part of me knew I was wrong. Maybe because I was documenting my own cruelty. Whatever the reason, they're yours now. To keep or destroy. To show Iris someday or leave buried forever. There's also a letter I wrote to you 6 years ago, after you married Devin. I never sent it, but it says everything I should have said then. Please read it. Not for me, for yourself. So you know that somewhere, deep down, I always knew you were exactly who you claimed to be. Thank you for giving me the chance to do better. Thank you for letting me be a grandmother to Iris. Thank you for holding my hand at the end. You are stronger than you know, kinder than I deserved, and exactly the kind of woman I should have been. With love and regret, Beatrice, I sat with the letter for a long time, reading and rereading, crying in a way I hadn't cried through the whole ordeal. The next day I went to Beatrice's house. Now Iris's house, technically. Devin was there, sorting through his mother's things. I got her letter, I said. She wrote you a letter? She did. She mentioned a box in her study. We went to the study. Inside the desk drawer was a wooden box. Inside the box were photos. Dozens of them. Every family photo Beatrice had cropped me out of over 6 years. But these were the originals. Me standing next to Devin at Christmas. Me holding newborn Iris at the hospital. Me at birthday parties and holidays and ordinary Sundays. Proof that I'd been there. That I'd been part of the family even when Beatrice pretended I wasn't. At the bottom of the box was another envelope. The letter she'd mentioned. I opened it. Dear my name, welcome to our family. Devin is the luckiest man alive to have found you. I've watched you together and I see the way you look at him. Like he hung the moon. Like he's your whole world. That's terrifying for a mother. Because I looked at his father the same way. And he left anyway. I'm going to be difficult, I think. I'm going to test you and push you and make things harder than they need to be. Because I'm scared. Scared that you'll hurt my son. Scared that you'll leave him. Scared that he'll love you more than he loves me and I'll lose him anyway. But I want you to know, even as I prepare to be my worst self, that I see your heart. I see your kindness and your strength and your absolute devotion to my son. You're everything I should want for him. Everything I would have chosen if I wasn't so terrified. I hope someday I'm brave enough to tell you this. To apologize for what I'm about to put you through. To acknowledge that the problem was never you. It was always me. If I never send this letter, if I'm too much of a coward, I hope someone finds it eventually. I hope they tell you that underneath all the cruelty, I knew. I always knew you were exactly what you seemed to be. With hope that I'll be better. Beatrice, I showed the letter to Devin. He read it twice, his face unreadable. She knew, he said finally. She knew the whole time what she was doing. She did. Does that make it better or worse? I don't know. We sat in his mother's study, surrounded by her things, holding evidence of her awareness, of her fear and her cruelty and her regret. I'm sorry, Devin said, for all of it, for not seeing what she was doing, for not protecting you. You said that already. I'll probably say it 100 more times before you believe it, probably. He looked at the photos spread across the desk. What are you going to do with these? I'm going to keep them, put them in an album for Iris, so she knows I was there, that I was always part of this family even when it didn't feel like it. That's good. And I'm going to forgive your mother. You are? I am. Not because she deserves it, not because her letters fixed anything, but because holding on to anger is exhausting, because she tried to do better at the end, because Iris loved her and deserves to love her memory without my pain attached to it. That's incredibly generous. It's self-preservation. I don't want to spend the rest of my life bitter about someone who's dead. I want to move on. Devin nodded. For what it's worth, I think she'd be grateful. She should be. We spent the afternoon sorting through Beatrice's things, dividing her belongings among her sons, deciding what Iris might want someday. It felt strange and sad and strangely peaceful. When we finished, Devin walked me to my car. Thank you for being there. At the end. You didn't have to be. I know. Why did you? I thought about it. About the woman on the cruise ship who'd called me desperate and alone. About the woman in the hospice bed who'd held my hand. About all the moments in between. Because somewhere along the way, taking care of your mother stopped being about obligation and started being about choice. I chose to show up. Not for her. Not even for Iris exactly. But for myself. Because I wanted to be the kind of person who does hard things. Who chooses kindness over cruelty. Who breaks cycles instead of perpetuating them. That's beautiful. It's survival. He hugged me. Quick and careful. I'm glad you were part of our family. Even briefly. Me too. Eventually, I drove home. Iris was with my mother for the afternoon. The house was quiet. I spread the photos on the kitchen table, all the evidence of my presence in a family that tried to erase me. But I hadn't been erased. I'd been there, smiling in every photo, holding my daughter, standing next to my husband, present even when I wasn't wanted. I started an album for Iris. So someday when she's old enough to understand, she'll know the full story. The cruelty and the kindness, the exclusion and the eventual inclusion, the way people can be terrible and still change, the way forgiveness isn't forgetting but choosing to move forward anyway. The first page has the letter Beatrice never sent, proof that she knew better even while doing worse. The second page has the photos, all of them. The original showing me exactly where Beatrice had cropped me out, but also showing that I was there, always there. The rest of the pages will be Iris's, her relationship with her grandmother, the cookies and the stories and the birthday parties, the good parts that came after, the redemption that was possible because I chose to allow it. When Iris is older, I'll give her this album. I'll tell her the whole truth, that her grandmother was cruel and then tried to be better, that I was hurt and then chose to heal. That family is complicated and messy, and sometimes people surprise you. I'll tell her that her grandmother left her a house and a trust fund, but more than that, she left her a lesson, that it's never too late to change. That apologies matter even if they don't fix everything. That showing up is what counts. 3 months after the funeral, the lawyer called about the will. Everything was being divided as planned. Iris got the house and the trust fund. Devin got the investment accounts. Garrett and Finn got cash disbursements. But there was one more thing, a provision I hadn't known about. Beatrice had left me $50,000 for making her final years bearable, the lawyer read from the will, for teaching her what family means, for holding her hand when no one else would, for choosing kindness when cruelty would have been easier, for being the daughter-in-law she should have had from the beginning. I sat in the lawyer's office, stunned. She added this clause 2 weeks before she died, he continued. She was very specific about the amount and the reasoning. She wanted you to know it wasn't payment. It was gratitude. I thought about refusing it. It felt like too much, like accepting a bribe for forgiveness. But then I thought about Iris, about college funds and security, about the things $50,000 could provide, about how Beatrice would want it used. I accepted it. I put half in savings for emergencies. The other half went into a 529 plan for Iris, supplementing the trust fund Beatrice had already established. So now my daughter has her grandmother's house, her trust fund, and an additional college fund built from her grandmother's last gift. She has security I never had, opportunities I never had, and she has them because a woman who was terrible chose to try to be better. That's the story I'll tell Iris someday. Not that her grandmother was perfect, not that everything was fine, but that people can change, that second chances matter, that forgiveness is possible even when it seems impossible. 2 years later, I still drive by Beatrice's house, now Iris's house. We rent it out for income that goes into Iris's trust. Someday, when she's old enough, she'll decide what to do with it. Keep it, sell it, live in it, whatever she chooses. But for now, it stands as a monument to complicated relationships, to cruelty and redemption, to the fact that family isn't just blood, it's choice, it's showing up, it's holding hands at the end even when every instinct says to walk away. Devin remarried last year. Lydia is lovely. They invited me to the wedding. I went. Iris was the flower girl again. This time, no one questioned my presence. No one asked why I was there. I was just there. Part of the family, or at least part of the story. Garrett and Finn are trying to be better uncles to Iris. They visit a few times a year, send birthday presents, video call occasionally. It's not perfect, but it's something. More than they gave their mother until it was too late. Petra and I have coffee sometimes. We talk about life after Beatrice. About the weight of being daughters-in-law to difficult women. About choosing grace over grudges. About survival. Do you think you'll ever fully forgive her? Petra asked during our last coffee. I thought about it. I think forgiveness isn't a destination. It's something I choose every day. Some days it's easier than others, but I'm choosing it. For Iris, for myself, for the memory of a woman who tried. That's beautiful. It's complicated. Most beautiful things are. Last Saturday, Iris and I went to the cemetery. We brought flowers for Beatrice's grave. Iris picked wildflowers from the field nearby and arranged them carefully. Do you think Grandma knows we're here? She asked. I don't know, sweetheart. I hope she does. I hope she knows I remember the cookies, and the stories, and how she used to let me put too much flour in everything. I think she'd like that. Mom? Yes? Were you and Grandma friends? I considered how to answer. We were complicated. She wasn't always nice to me, but she tried to be better, and I tried to let her. Like when I fight with friends at school and then we make up? Something like that. Did you make up? We were working on it when she died. That's sad. It is, but that's life sometimes. We don't always get perfect endings. We just get the endings we get. Iris absorbed this with the seriousness only children can manage. I'm glad you tried, though, to make up, even if you didn't finish. Me too, baby. Me too. We stood there in the spring sunshine, looking at the grave of a woman who'd caused pain, and then tried to heal it, who'd excluded and then included, who'd been cruel and then kind, who'd died having learned a lesson most people never learn. That family is what you make it. That blood means nothing if there's no love. That showing up matters more than being right. That second chances are precious because they're rare. I thought about that desperate phone call from the cruise ship, about choosing to hang up, about all the moments that followed, the legal agreements and the custody battles, the medications and the doctor's appointments, the card games and the puzzles, the cookies with Iris, the letters written and never sent, the deathbed reconciliation that wasn't quite reconciliation but was something. If I could go back, would I answer that call differently? Would I fly to Spain and take care of a woman who'd never taken care of me? No, because hanging up taught Beatrice something she needed to learn, that actions have consequences, that people have limits, that you can't treat someone terribly and expect them to save you. But I'd still make the same choice I made when her lawyer called 6 months later. I'd still agree to 3 days a week. I'd still show up. I'd still hold her hand at the end. Not because she deserved it, but because I deserve to be the kind of person who does hard things, who chooses humanity over bitterness, who breaks cycles instead of perpetuating them. That's what I'll teach Iris. Not that her grandmother was perfect. Not that I was perfect. But that both of us tried. That we made mistakes and then tried to fix them. That family is messy and complicated and worth fighting for even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. We left the cemetery as the sun was setting. Iris held my hand, chattering about school and friends and everything that mattered in her 7-year-old world. She'd grown up with a grandmother who loved her, who baked with her and told her stories, who left her a house and a future. She didn't know about the cruelty, the exclusion, the years of pain. Someday I'd tell her, when she was old enough to understand nuance, to hold multiple truths at once, to know that people are complicated and forgiveness is possible even when it shouldn't be. But for now, she just knew she'd been loved, and that was enough. That was everything.